Constitution. The churches are in there. And by the way, there is no pandemic exception to the United States Constitution.
Right on.
And George Washington and the framers all knew about pandemics because during the height of the Revolutionary War, there was a smallpox pandemic, and it affected the whole military strategy was built around it. So they knew that pandemics were potentially disruptive, but they chose not to put a pandemic exception into the United States Constitution. They got rid of religious freedom. They got rid of the right to assembly. They told us we all had to stay apart. We couldn't assemble. We had to keep 6 feet between ourselves. They got rid of property rights. They executed a takings of every business in this country without due process, without just compensation. They just said, you close down your business. Do what you're told. They got rid of jury trials. It's not just for vaccine makers. Anybody, any corporation that claims that it is providing a countermeasure is exempt from trial. You cannot sue them no matter how grievous your injury, no matter how reckless their conduct, no matter how negligent their conduct, no matter how toxic the ingredients, no matter how badly injured you are, you cannot sue that corporation for injuring you. We have the 6th and 7th Amendment guarantees of jury trials. Go on, due process of the law. Go on, due process is the law that says the government cannot pass a regulation or rule without public participation. Amen. What does that mean? It means, here's what it means. Here's what the statutory and regulatory interpretation of that constitutional amendment say. If the government wants to pass a law, it has to do a number of things. Number one, it has to publish that law, the proposed rule. And when it publishes it, it has to publish a rationale. That means an environmental impact statement, which is a cost-benefit analysis. It has to disclose all the bad things that are going to happen as a result of that law, and it has to explain why the good things are going to outweigh the bad things. They're required. It's called an environmental impact statement. A regulatory impact statement, which essentially does the same thing, an economic impact statement. None of that was ever done for any of these, for the lockdown. Tony Fauci, when he was asked, did you ever look at the economic implications, the impacts of the lockdown? He said, no. Well, you know, there's a lot of information about what happens to public health and to mortalities when you cause unemployment. Yeah. And the reason for that is there was a whole cottage industry in the 1980s in the economics field that evolved because of these big downsizing of these giant corporations, and people, economists and social scientists were looking and saying, what happens to a society? And all of these people suddenly lose their jobs. And there's a very famous study that was published in 1982 that looked at these, that has been cited thousands of times in the literature. And that study said that for every 1 point in unemployment, there are in America, there will be 37,000 excess deaths. About 9,000 of those are heart attacks. About 900 of those are suicides. There's stress-related deaths. There's deaths that are related to people losing their insurance coverage. And on and on and on.